In late January, U.S. President Joe Biden announced that Washington is sending 31 M1 Abrams tanks to Ukraine as part of Washington's continued support for the war-torn nation. Addressing reporters at the White House, Biden said, "Russian President Vladimir Putin expected Europe and the U.S. to weaken our resolve. He was wrong from the beginning, and he continues to be wrong." According to the president, a Ukrainian tank battalion typically consists of 31 tanks, which is why that number has been agreed upon. Everyone knows that Abrams is a handful, but now Ruslan Pukhov, director of the Center for Analysis of Strategies and Technologies, a Russian think tank, has conceded that the American main battle tanks will have a major impact on the battlefield. In this video, Defense Updates analyzes why the director of a Russian think tank is fearful of Abrams' main battle tank. Let's get into the details. Pukhov was quoted as saying by the Russian newspaper Moskovsky Komsomolets, "M1A2, SEP V2 and 3 tanks are today the best in the world regarding the combination of combat potential. Even in export versions, the Abrams M1A2 SEP V2 variant significantly outperforms any Russian production tank." Viewers may note that T-90M is the most potent operational Russian main battle tank, as T-14 Armata is yet to see serial production. The Ural-Vagonzavod-designed T-90M is an upgraded version of the T-90 tank, first introduced in the early 1990s as an offshoot of the T-72. It has several improvements in terms of protection, mobility, and firepower. The T-90M features an improved 2A46 M4 125mm smoothbore main gun, which has a longer range and is said to be 15 to 20% more accurate than the standard 2A46M gun of the T-90. Pukhov disclosed that the ammunition currently being used by the Russian tanks mainly comprises old Soviet shells, which can defeat the Ukrainian T-64s, T-72s, and T-80s at relatively short distances. He added with the introduction of Western tanks with powerful guns, modern armor-piercing shells, and fire control systems can lead to a sharp increase in the distances of tank battles. Pukhov said, "In such a duel, we may find ourselves in disadvantageous conditions." Pukhov further said that Russia's inventory of anti-tank missiles lacks the modern third-generation anti-tank missile systems similar to javelins that have been devastating Russian tanks. He stated that while Russia does have powerful Kornet laser-guided missiles, they are few in number, and most of the anti-tank missiles are Soviet-era Fagat and Konker models. Pukhov maintains that a mere 30 to 50 Abrams tanks are unlikely to affect the situation in the operational sense. Still, if Ukraine gets around 200 or 300 tanks and correctly uses them, they can become a significant operational factor. According to Pukhov, the West's aim behind providing Ukraine with a limited number of weapons is essentially the exhaustion and gradual grinding of Russian forces, and not precisely a decisive Ukrainian victory. One aspect that's clear from Pukhov's assertion is that Abrams MBT is superior to anything Russia is fielding currently, and the only thing that can save Russian forces is that Ukraine would at least initially receive a very limited number, 31 of these. Abrams was first introduced in 1980 to replace the M60 main battle tank, which was introduced in 1960. The tank was technologically well ahead of most other tanks of its era. The U.S. military has kept on upgrading the tank to maintain its edge. As per reports, the Pentagon is planning to provide Ukraine with the A2 version in its exportable form. Importantly, rather than sending Ukraine tanks from its own stocks, as it's done with previous weapons, the U.S. has said it's buying the Abrams from the industry. The tanks are assembled in one place only, a government-owned General Dynamics-operated plant in Lima, Ohio. The facility can produce 12 tanks per month, But the line is now full of new tank orders for Taiwan and Poland. This could potentially mean they won't arrive on the battlefield for many months. But this is not such a bad thing, as Ukrainian personnel will need time for training. Once introduced in battle, Abrams could be deadly for Russian forces, and there are genuine reasons for fearing it.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more videos like this. Hit the like button if you find the video interesting, and kindly provide your feedback in the comment section. This will help us improve.